Wilderness is not a luxury, but a necessity of the human spirit. This quote by Edward Abbey comes from his book, Desert Solitaire, which chronicles his experiences as a park ranger in Arches National Monument. The book was published in 1968. It takes place in Arches National Monument near Moab, Utah, and Abbey also goes into some of the other areas in the southwestern United States. The book is part memoir, part critique of industry and tourism in the area, part love letter to nature, and it's also a reminder about why his readers need nature and need wild spaces. As far as primary historical sources go, this one is interesting because it is also a memoir. So in addition to getting to know the history of the landscape, you also learn more about Edward Abbey, and he's quite a character. The New York Times in their review described him as a rebel and an eloquent loner. And he really is an interesting person, but his unique voice adds to the character of the book. In the book, Abbey describes the beauty of his surrounding environment. He is transfixed by the details of the landscape. He writes about the dance of a snake near his porch, or the movement of a river as he floats along. His awe-inspiring descriptions of nature are contrasted with his annoyance about the tourists who come in and clog up the park with their cars. He also rants against the government for making more and more roads to enable the tourists. His vivid descriptions of people and the land make the book memorable and meaningful. The book is made rich by his descriptive writing. My favorite passage in the book is a description of clouds in the desert. He writes, "The clouds multiply and merge, piling up like whipped cream. An armada assembles and advances, floating on a plane of air that makes it appear, from below, as a fleet of ships must look to fish in the sea." This style of writing really captures so much beauty, and it allowed me to feel like I was taking part in that landscape and seeing these places in a way I couldn't have by myself. This book is an important part of environmental history because it acts as a time capsule for a very specific piece of nature at a very specific time. The book captures in detail what the Arches landscape looked like 52 years ago. In the book, Abbey complains about the roads that are being established across the park and beginning to ruin the landscape. But even the Arches that Abbey knew back then probably look serene in comparison to what 52 years of development and tourism must have done to the land. The book also captures one view of what the national park system was doing in this time period. Abbey's account captures this interaction between government, industry, and the environment during the period of 1968. This was the beginning of a moment of environmental reckoning in the U.S. as a new environmental movement was starting. It kind of was heralded in by Rachel Carson's Silent Spring in 1965, and others contributed to this new environmental moment about how we as humans should interact with the world around us. This book is important because it teaches how art and literature can be used as a form of protest and as a means to protect the environment. With his descriptive writing and his beautiful tales of the desert landscape, Abbey helps his reader fall in love with the earth and fall in love with the wilderness. And he makes this argument that nature and the preservation of it is important to everybody, whether or not we are able to access or live in it like he did. He explains with this quote, "We need wilderness whether or not we ever set foot in it. We need the possibility of escape as surely as we need hope." I think this really captures the main message of the book, that nature is important to everybody and we need to be respectful and thoughtful about the way we treat nature. In this book, Abbey teaches his readers to look at the environment in new ways. When I was reading it, it gave me more awe and wonder about the surrounding world around me, even though I don't live in a national monument. Abbey's writing is more than just beautiful descriptions of a landscape. He also includes ideas and suggestions for policy, and this work has been inspiring for generations of environmentalists and activists that have followed since its publishing. And all of this comes together to make Desert Solitaire an important part of environmental history.